Hey Jam family, it's Aaron Toney. So today I'm going to be showing you guys some basic stretching along with some kicking variations today. So let's go ahead and get started right away. First thing we're going to do, in place, you don't have to have a lot of space. I know everyone else is relatively sort of in their house. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with just some basic air squats in place. So you can start here, feet shoulder width apart, a little bit bigger. And then you're just going to start with 10 air squats. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Next thing you're going to do, turn to the side, and we're basically going to separate our feet, and we're going to slowly bounce. What this is going to do is this is going to elongate the hamstring slowly. Right now, you might not have a lot of space to run in place, but what you can do is you can still fire these by bending down. So we're going to do 10 of these in place, and go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switch, and other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're gonna do a couple sets of these. And the reason is why is because what we wanna do, and also guys, feel free to go ahead and pause this video and stop it if you need to go ahead and, go ahead and figure out what I'm doing, what my position is, or if I start to ramble. But what I wanna do is, we wanna do a couple of reps of these because like when we run, we don't just run once and then stop. What we do is we go ahead and really fire everything. So I want to isolate and really get reps in so that we really start to get the hamstrings going. Because when you start kicking, everything that you do is going to rely on these. Trust me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Last set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And last set on this side. 1, 2, 3. Make sure to keep your shoulders straight. Forward. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm sure I did a couple extra, but that's okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get into a horse stance. And a horse stance is going to help us isolate inside the hip flexors and get everything stretched out. So bend down, nice and slow, and take your elbows and push them to the insides of your knees so that you stretch everything out. Just really stretch it out. Now from here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and drop our left leg, and for now, keep it loose. So what I like to do normally is push my toes to the sky, but for now what's really good is to just leave everything really loose. Really loose. And then what we're gonna do from here is we're gonna switch. We're not gonna use our hands. I just want you to stay in this position and you're gonna switch. So just stay really loose. Make sure that your heels are on the ground when you switch too. And if things are popping, that's okay. Just means things are stretching out. When we do this the third time, we're gonna go ahead and push our toes to the ceiling. So now we're back on the left side. Now, flex your foot. That's gonna really push your calves and stretch them out along with the rest of the hamstring. You should feel it in your quad as well a little bit. And then switch. Push your toes to the ceiling. If you want, you can take your elbow and push that out just to go ahead and keep the hip in line. Toes to the ceiling. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna stay in this position, but we're going to go ahead and bounce on each side. So from here, we're gonna go ahead and bounce. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. Good. Let's do another set. 5 more on each side. And 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 5. Good. Last set. Still in horse stance. You should feel a little burn through here and also starting to isolate all through the hamstrings. Last set. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. Good. So now that you got a nice burn going, what we're going to do now is we're going to drop into what I like to call a frog position. The frog position is really good because what it does is it isolates the hip flexors so that you're not putting too much strain on the knees when we do go into a split position. So if you can see, my hips are very much sort of in line with my hips. So right here, knees and hips should not be like this. You shouldn't be sitting like this. You should be sitting upright. So if that means you have to be in a position where you're a little higher, that's okay, just as long as you actually feel what you're stretching. I'm gonna turn to the side. You can see what I mean. So from here, we don't want this. This is bad. This is what we want, and we want to sit in this position. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna lean forward, and I should still be isolating the hips properly. Now what we want to do from here is we're going to roll. So from here, you roll 10 times each side. 4, 5, 5. Now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to sit up. And you stay in that position for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now back down again. Now from here, now that y'all know what I'm talking about, I'm gonna turn back around to this side so we get another angle of this. So from here now, you're gonna go ahead and basically flap your legs. 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, and sit back up. Again, you always try to sit back in this position, keeping your hips in line with your knees. Very, very important. So from here, we sit and always trying to breathe and to try to get lower. When you breathe, your hips will loosen and you'll start to sink more. If you're sitting here like this, you're not doing yourself any good. All you're doing is creating tension in your hips. You don't want that. You want to relax them so that they slowly lower. So we're gonna do one more set, leaning forward. So from here, we're gonna go ahead and bounce again. So switched. 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. Good. Now we'll sit up. One more time in this position now. Good. Now from here, not gonna go into splits just yet. We'll go ahead and do the hurdle stretch. We'll give you some relief before we get back into the splits. So what I like to do is a little different. This isn't fun for a lot of people, but the more you do this, the easier it gets. So the first thing that we're going to do is just gonna lean into the middle. This is the most relaxing position for me. When I stretch a lot of people out, the first thing I hear is, oh my God. You should be able to eventually get to this position without feeling a lot. This for me feels really good. I prefer to do this before going straight into a forward sort of stretching position or back here. This is just a way of getting everything to relax. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, we'll come over here. Toes flexed again. I'm gonna really isolate and push forward and hold for 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And come back to here again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And one more time to the front. We're only gonna do this twice because we've already started to loosen up our hamstrings really, really well. So one more time to the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we're gonna switch. So from here, however you can, however it's easy for you. Some people it's better to come up. Do whatever you have to do to get to this. Once again, gonna go to the middle first. Sometimes it's better to put yourself in a state of pain a little bit. So if this hurts for people, it doesn't for me because I've been stretching for so long. But sometimes it's better to put yourself in a state of pain as far as getting things to loosen up, not putting yourself through real pain, but to put yourself in a state of discomfort, because then it helps isolate the stretch that you're going to do later. So I get to this position, hold for 10. Just relax. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we go to the front, toes to the sky, and hold for 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And one more time to the middle, and hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And last time to the front. And pull your toes, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I like to go ahead and whenever I stretch, make my count a little slower, because a lot of times everybody's just trying to get through it. 1, 2, 3, 4, you know what I mean? It's like, I know we want to get through it, but we also want to get the blood restricted so that it can rush back in again, because that's going to help. That feels good. A lot of people don't like to stretch because it's painful. What you don't understand a lot of times is that stretching also helps with strengthening your ligaments and your joints and just keeping everything lubed up. If you don't use it, you lose it. It's true, it works. So now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go straight into splits. And if you don't have the splits, you can get to this position and hold here. What I used to do as a kid is to get flexible. I used to take my mind off something, and feel free to pause this video at any point in time. If you can't get to the splits, what you can do is we'll do counts of 10, and you'll hold in place as far as you can go, and you just hold this for 10. And so from here, if I couldn't get all the way down, which I can, this is me all the way down, but if you can't, here up here, we're gonna hold for 10. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then from here, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to turn. I don't want you to come up, but if you have to come up, you can. But this is what I would do. I would stay here and I would roll into the stretching. This gets into a principle that I like to teach. Rolling through your stretching, for anyone that kicks, is one of those techniques that's going to help you out a lot, because what it helps you do is it helps you get a bigger understanding of your range of motion in your kicks. A lot of people go from point A to point B, which is very perpendicular. A lot of kicking variations work very circular if you can do them, but you can't do them if you don't stretch. So what I like to do is I like to rotate through all of my stretching, through my middle, through my sides. And that helps isolate and really loosen up everything. So we just did 10 here. Now we do 10, 10 here. So hold for 10. If you're up here, great. If you can be down here, awesome. We'll do the first one. You can keep the knee out. Second one, we're gonna do knee down. So from here, point your toes, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Head down. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we're gonna roll to the other side. Turn, roll. Toes down, toes out, knee out. And so from here, first 5, head up. Last 5, head down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good, come up. Come back to the middle if you can. All the way down. So if that means you're up here, that just means all you can do is get onto your elbows. So scoot back a little bit. Get onto your elbows and just lean forward as much as you can. If you can go all the way down into the splits and lean forward, perfect. Hold there for 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then flex your feet. You go from a point to a flex. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then come up. And then now, we're gonna go ahead and take our side split and we're gonna be over our back knee. So that means you're like this, you stay there. If you can get all the way down, great. Toes up this time and hold for 10. This time, all the way down for 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Very good. Now we're gonna switch. Rolling through the stretching, very important. Practice what you preach. You know, practice this technique. It's gonna really help for kicking. Now, again, over the knee, all the way down. Toes up and down for 10, hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Very good. Now from here, come up. And that concludes our basic stretching. Now we're gonna get into some kicking variations. So, some of the kicking techniques that I do, I like to vary them up. I have a couple different ways of doing some of your basic techniques. So what I'm gonna demonstrate is the front kick, the roundhouse kick, and the side kick today. Those are the three we're gonna focus on just for today. Because I think there's a lot to be said, and I can throw the gamut at you, like hook kick variation, axe kicks, spin kicks, jump around spin kick, all that stuff. But these three kicks are truly the foundation of the principles when it comes to proper kicking. So, we're gonna start with the front kick. We'll start on this line here just to show you what happens. Now, what I like to do is I teach the Taekwondo method, which is we turn the left foot out before we go ahead and kick. Left foot pivots, the right knee comes up, throw, and then you bring it back down. So once again, you're going to pivot the outside foot, you chamber, out, the toes point forward. There's different techniques. Sometimes when you kick paddles, you point the toes or you flex. That's a different technique. For now, we're just gonna work on bringing it up, out, and down in front of us. There's other techniques I like to practice where you're in drills where you kick and then bring it all the way back. Don't worry about that right now. We're just working on getting the basic principles of dropping it in front of us. From the side, once again, pivot, out, and down in front of you. We're gonna do both sides, we're gonna do 5. So if you don't have a lot of room in your house, don't worry. Find a little corner, diagonal, and we're just gonna work on this line. Back and forth, we're gonna do 10. 5 down, 5 back. Here we go. And turn, or pull, like in Korean Taekwondo. Alright, so the next kick we're going to do is the roundhouse kick. Now the roundhouse kick shares the same starting principle as the front kick. Once you start, you pivot whichever foot that is not kicking. So we pivot, this foot turns out, and then from here, we chamber and throw it out and down. So once again, pivot, open up the bottom foot, chamber, open up the hips, throw, then bring it down. So again, all together, and down. So we're gonna do 10, 5 on both sides, down and back. 10, here we go. Starting with the right foot again. And back. Now for me, it's okay to kind of stagger it off. You don't have a lot of space, so kind of do them in place as you go. Just try to get 5 down and back. So the next kick we're gonna do now is the side kick. The side kick is a little different. What we like to go ahead and do is, with the side kick, you still open up, but instead of the hip coming this way, the hip is going to turn. You're gonna present your butt to the target. So once again, when we come up, opening up the left foot or the right foot, depending on which foot you're not kicking on, you open up, chamber, throw, then bring it right down in front of you. So once again, all together, and down. So we're gonna do that 10 times, all the way down and back. So here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, and back. These are great to do in your house. I'm already sweating. I hope you guys are. So it's great. So those are 3 kicking sort of basics that you can start out with. What I'm going to show you next is just a little variation on each one of those. But first, I'm going to get some water. Make sure you hydrate too, guys. This is great stuff to be doing in your house because everyone is trying to stay healthy. So you're getting everything flowing, making it work. All right. So, first variation we're going to show you guys is on the front kick again. Now, front kick has many sort of basic applications. We've seen it performed on movies. We've seen it performed in real life in MMA. But it's a couple different scenarios to use it in. Now, for the application of when you're using it on, say, in real life, a lot of times what we try to do is we try to use the toes. But say you have on boots or something, what you're gonna have to do, you're gonna have to use the heels. So typically, during a front kick, you wouldn't have to worry about trying to open up the toes. So what I would do is to try to use the instep here. So what I like to do is say if I have shoes on, what I'll do is I'll immediately, when I throw, you throw literally with the toes. That's if you have shoes on. The other variation that you can do is a push kick. So front kicks and push kicks, they share the same properties, only the chamber is just a bit different. As opposed to flicking, what you're going to do is you're going to push. And that technique is used a lot in sort of like Muay Thai as well. Instead of trying to flick, you will push, which is a lot more devastating. The other way to do that is, from there, is you would take a slide forward and push, which is a lot more powerful. So just a couple little sort of subtle variations to play around with your front kick. The next kick is the roundhouse kick. So we did basic roundhouse kick, starting with the back leg. Another variation that you can play with is front leg. Now front leg, if you want, a good way to kind of start it is, if you start, you can switch step and throw, or you can also start with your rear leg behind and come over the top. Sometimes in Taekwondo, we're taught to, and this is in Muay Thai as well, you're taught to lead with your hip, turn the kick over, which leads to a lot more power. So one technique is from here to start with the leg in front, switch step all the way through, or rear leg, and you're going to drive knee into toes. So you go knee, turn over and down. Now that technique lends itself to gravity. Why? Because you take the angle of your knee and you turn it to a 45-degree angle to apply power. So if you watch in full fast motion, you
You see what that does? As opposed to straight around. One is more powerful because it's using power physics. So those are a couple techniques that you can use for the roundhouse kick. Last one that we're gonna do for today is the sidekick. Now there's normal sidekick that we already did, which is basically just out from there, but there's also the sliding sidekick, just placing your foot behind you, shuffling into that position. It's, I don't know if you would equate that with more like a Bruce Lee technique, but it's a technique that's commonly used to gain ground, whether you in fake or you slide into a back kick. So like I said, these 3 kicks segue into fundamentals of all the rest of the technique. So it's good to get these really well. So let's see the sliding side kick again. So from here, I'll actually go this way to open up the camera. We're going to shuffle, and then from the shuffle, raise our knee. So once again, shuffle and throw. Shuffle, lift, throw. Okay? So those are just some variations that you can play with once you're done stretching, once you've done the basics. It's good to do those. Basics first. Basics, basics, basics. There's nothing more infuriating than seeing someone do a technique that you know is really easy and make it super difficult because they don't understand basics. So with that said, guys, I thank you. Practice your basics. Feel free to pause this video and stop and figure out what the heck I'm doing because I'm rambling during this, and I hope you had fun.